Villagers disputing high water spikes of their water bill. Officials blame gate strikes on bad drivers. Florida Highway Patrol investigates crash on Chitty Chatty Bridge which forced a closure. Reports show a villager was near toxic at time of crash. Villager was arrested after returning to the pool from which he was banned. Heavily intoxicated villager was arrested in reports of shoving woman to the floor at Red Sauce. Woman jailed after allegedly punching a man over saving seats at Town Square. Speeding teen from Guatemala arrested without a driver's license. More than 40 golf cart crashes in the section of Sumter County of the Villages in the first quarter of this year. Officials unanimously voted to stop anonymous complaints. Snowbird accused of molesting child was ordered to stay away from minors. Marsh Bend Trail will be closed for 4 weeks. Walmart Neighborhood Marketplace coming to County Road 466 and Cherry Lake Road. This and more coming up. Villagers who disagree with unexplained spikes in their water usage could face shutoff if they don't pay their bills. At least 2 homeowners who don't agree with the unexplained, unusually high bills from the village's utility department have refused to pay the bills, which are being disputed. Assistant District Manager Bruce Brown told members of the North Sumter County Utility Dependent District on Monday that those 2 customers have refused to pay their disputed bills and could face late fees and shutoff. Staff doesn't have the discretion to wipe away a bill simply because the residents doesn't like it. In March, residents lined up at the podium to tell eerily similar stories about sudden spikes in water usage resulting in unusual high bills. For most of those residents, water usage returned to normal the next month. District utility representatives reportedly blamed the bills, many of which included usage tens of thousands of gallons higher than normal, on a leaky toilet. Homeowners swore up and down that their leaky toilet was never found and never fixed, and their usage never dropped as dramatically as it had risen. That sounds suspicious. Let me just throw this in there real quick. I know of one instance, only one, to where a person's water usage went dramatically high. After they did some investigating, because everybody denied everything, come to find out, a friend of his, which was a city plumber, I'll say, there was a check valve that led to his house. Now, here's why I understand it. That the water pressure pushed the water into the house. To hold that pressure, when the pump or pressure system would shut off, as the water would try to back out, a check valve kicks in the water line. It keeps that water from backing out into the water line. But his valve was bad, so it would push the water in, and then a little bit at a time, the water would drain back out of that valve. And then it would push the water in again, and the water line would drain back out of that valve because the check valve was bad. Well, as the water was being pushed in, even though he wasn't using any water, the meter would show that water being pushed in past that meter. And it kept adding it up, adding it up, adding it up. And come to find out it was a check valve. Now, I'm not sure any more than that in the story. I don't know who paid for the check valve. I don't know anything. It's just something, it's just food for thought, something to think about if you're looking. Officials are blaming gate strikes on bad drivers in the villages who contend additional lighting won't help. Supervisor Dan Rule, representing Community Development District 9 at Monday's meeting of the project-wide advisory committee, attempted to make the case for a test of additional lighting to improve the visibility of gates. There are an average of 134 gate strikes per month in the villages. The offender knocking down the gates is billed $250, and they do collect. How? There's digital cameras everywhere and then gates entering and leaving. They get your license plate number and other information. Rule suggested that additional lighting could cut down on the number of gate strikes and improve safety. He said testing lights at a gate could provide answers as to whether lighting could help. Let me just stop right there. In Texas, because you guys know I travel down there quite a bit, almost everywhere down there on the side streets and whatever, even the stoplights have red flashing lights that goes around the perimeter of those stop signs. Gates going in and out of different private communities. The gates have these red lights, strips of them. I guess you can put like a railroad light flashing on them. There's a good example. railroad crossing has these flashing lights, but there was a strip light. I don't know what you call them, like LED lights on the top of the gate arm. So when the gate arm's down, these strip lights are on. I don't know anything about how many strikes before and after the lights were improved, but I will tell you that I saw these, and when I go down there, I mentioned it to Sue. I said, this is a great idea for the villages. Stop signs with red lights on them. Because on the golf cart trails, the stop signs ain't what you think they are. They're these little, stupid little things they stick in the ground that nobody pays attention to. So I think the red light is something well worth investigating. Take a couple of sample gates that get a lot of strikes, put them on there, see what happens. What do you got to lose? Softball seasons come and go, but the legacy of the players and managers live on. That was the evidence Monday during the Village's Softball Division III Hall of Fame inductions for the class of 2023. It was held at the Everglades Softball Complex. 13 members were inducted in the inaugural Hall of Fame ceremony for Division III before the championship game, where the Buccaneers beat the Packers. Yay-rah! The Hall of Famers are Chuck Bauman, Wally Diaz, Tom DeSalva, Wayne Grunwald, Jim Holloway, Carlos Lopez, Ron Lotus, Lindsay Lowe, Tom McGain, Ed Moriarty, Ron Nixted, Mariana Ramos, and Pat Rice. This is an absolutely great moment, said Wayne Grunwald, one of the league's best hitters. He hit .776 this past season and has nearly 1,400 hits in his D3 career. Wally Diaz, playing from 2004 to 2017, he was one of the best pitchers in D3 history. Tom DeSalva. As a manager, Tom amassed 33 seasons, 379 wins, and a .582 winning percentage managing the Falcons. Wayne Grunwald. The accomplishments of Wayne are numerous. Starting in the fall of 2009 and playing in nearly every season since, the statistics is just a start for this quiet and humble man. Jim Holloway. As both a player and manager, Jim compiled exceptional numbers over 37 seasons as a player and 28 seasons as a manager of the Cowboys. Carlos Lopez. Starting in 2004 as a shortstop, Carlos soon became a pitcher. Ron Lotes. As a player in 2003 and 2005, Ron served the league as one of the original board members who was active in writing the rules that guide us today. Lindsay Lowe. Starting out as an outfielder, Lindsay soon became a premier pitcher in the D3. Tom McGain. Tom could hit, throw, and run and possessed a flamethrower of an arm. Ed Moriarty. Ed is considered to be among the best shortstops to have played in the D3. Ron Nixtad. From the start in D3 in 2013, Ron has always been a top player, top draft pick, and an exceptional leader who teammates said made them play better. Mariana Ramos. In the winter of 2023, Mariana became the first D3 player to eclipse the 2,000 hit mark and is number one in all-time hits in D3 at the time of his induction. Pat Rice. Pat has been among the best power hitter in D3 throughout his career. I didn't read everything. It's an awful lot on each player, but I got to give you the credit that you guys deserve, and I just say congratulations to each and every one of you. The Wawa manager called police after a homeless man hid in the restrooms. Derek Luke Marslock, 47, was seated at a table at about 9 p.m. Monday outside of Wawa at County Road 466 and U.S. Highway 27 and 441. This Wawa place seems to attract all the deplorables. Ooh. When the manager called the police after telling Marslock he was not welcome at the gas station and convenience store, according to the arrest report from the Lady Lake Police Department, Marslock repeatedly visited the Wawa, although he had been told many times he is not welcome. An officer arrives at Wawa and advised a native New Yorker he could not return to Wawa. The female manager called police after Meslick returned and hid in the men's room. An officer arrived on the scene and found Meslick hiding in the men's bathroom. He was arrested and charged of trespassing and booked at Lake County Jail. He was released on his own recognizance because he ain't got no money. He'll go back. The Florida Highway Patrol is investigating a crash early Wednesday morning that forced the closure of Chitty Chatty Golf Cart Bridge over State Road 44. Many residents were caught off guard by the sudden closure of the bridge. Brad Dorsaw of the village of Hawkins was planning to drive over the Chitty Chatty Bridge to Havana Country Club to play golf. He is part of the St. Catherine's men's group of about 28 golfers. Most of them were heading toward the bridge too. When he reached the Chitty Chatty Bridge prior to sunrise, he quickly began calling his fellow golfers in an attempt to reroute them to their next best option, the Brownwood Bridge. That has to be a pain. A spokesman for the Florida Highway Patrol indicated the accident report is not yet complete. Early reports indicated that a car ran into the bridge. A villager was nearly toxic last year when her car crashed into a parked car at a home on the historic site of the Villages. Stacy Durrell Fitzgerald, 60, of the village of Piedmont, was arrested this past week by Marion County Sheriff's deputies on a Lake County warrant charging her with driving under the influence with property damage. She was released after posting a $2,500 bond. She entered a plea of not guilty. Fitzgerald was arrested in January in a separate drunk driving incident that had been at the wheel of a vehicle at about 6 p.m. August 22nd when she crashed into a small tree, a carport attached to a residence, and a parked car at a home in the 800 block of Sharon Drive. Fitzgerald had been buckled into the driver's seat of her vehicle and had to be shaken to stay awake. She admitted she'd been drinking. There were 2 bottles of vodka on the floorboard of her car. 1 bottle was half empty. The other bottle was completely empty. There were also 4 200-milliliter bottles of Skol vodka in the car. 2 were full and unopened. 1 was open and partially empty, and 1 was completely empty. Fitzgerald was so severely intoxicated she was taken by ambulance to the UF Health, the village's hospital. In February, an officer investigating the crash obtained medical records that showed that Fitzgerald was nearly to the point of being toxic and had a blood alcohol level of, holy crap, 0.380. A bench warrant was issued for her arrest. In her January DUI arrest, her blood alcohol level was 0.305. She is due to enter a plea on May 16th at the Sumter County DUI case. Lady, you better give it up. A husband was arrested after an emergency crew from the village's public safety department called law enforcement when his wife became combative at a home in the Villages. The EMF crew was called at about 8 p.m. Tuesday to a home in the 1500 block of Gale Mill Drive in the village of Mallory Square. A nice neighborhood, Mallory Square. The woman the crew had been called to treat became combative, according to the arrest report. While a deputy was speaking to the family members, he identified 67-year-old Roland Long as the woman's husband. The deputy ran Long's name through a computer and discovered that Long was wanted on a Walton County warrant charging him with passing a worthless check. He was taken into custody and booked at the Sumter County Detention Center. He was released after posting a $1,467 bond. I'll bet that was the amount of the check. A villager was arrested after returning to a swimming pool from which she had been banned. Karen Flavel Kramer, 61, of the village of Calumet Grove, was arrested at about 7 a.m. Wednesday at the Calumet Grove pool. 7 a.m.? Pool's open that early? Maybe so, I don't know. Marion County Sheriff's deputies were called to the pool to investigate a report of a woman in a car in the parking lot yelling for help. A deputy found Kramer in the car, but she denied she had called out for help. A check revealed she was wanted on a Lake County warrant charging her with failure to appear in court in connection with an arrest earlier this year after she allegedly tried to outrun police. The deputy also confirmed that Kramer had been banned from the Calumet Grove pool. The Ohio native denied any knowledge that she had been forbidden to return to the pool. She was arrested on a charge of trespassing and booked at Marion County Jail. Bond was set at $1,000. My personal opinion, just looking at the picture and reading the report, I'm thinking maybe dementia, something along those lines. I could be totally wrong. Some of these things down here happen on a regular basis. I don't think the police are really trained to recognize these things, but it's sad. Residents' complaints have spurred action on a parking problem in a villa community in the Villages. The Community Development District 12 Board of Supervisors on Thursday voted to put up informational signs at the Bougainvillea Villas in the village of Fenney. Residents have voiced their frustrations that the parking spots that are intended to be used for residents, visitors, and guests are being hogged up by residents. And at least in one case, a vehicle owner who doesn't live in the Bougainvillea villas. In March, Mary Lou Blassing, who purchased her home in the Bougainvillea Villas in 2017, told supervisors about the parking abuse she has witnessed through the years. She said a homeowner in the Bougainvillea Villas has parked his second vehicle in guest parking for 5 years. She said it's become a real sore spot. Well, sure it is. I'm in favor of signs being placed there because I have received numerous complaints. The signs are purely informational, and the district will not have the authority to tow vehicles. See, that's what gets me. That's what gets me, how they have no authority to do anything. Signs are useless. People already know that they're abusing this. Your signs are useless and a waste of our money. Get the authority. A heavily intoxicated man is accused of shoving a woman to the floor at a restaurant in the Villages. Joseph George Satuli, 65, of Ocala. He don't even live here. I keep saying this because I want you people, the residents, future residents, people researching the Villages that happen to watch my news. These are things you need to be aware of when you go to a square. Don't assume everybody in that square, everybody in that restaurant, everybody anywhere inside the Villages actually is a resident here. People come here all the time. They don't live here and they cause problems. Here's one of them. Was being verbally abusive on his date when another woman attempted to intervene at about 8:30 p.m. Wednesday at Red Sauce at Lake Sumter Landing, according to the arrest report from the Sumter County Sheriff's Office. He was yelling and swearing at his date, and the woman attempted to intervene. She stood between Kasuli and his date, putting her hand up in an attempt to get him to stand back. Instead, he put both of his hands on the woman's shoulders and shoved her. She fell to the ground, hitting her head. Back of the arm on the floor. The altercation was witnessed by a Red Sauce employee. A deputy who interviewed Sestuli found that the New Britain, Connecticut native was heavily intoxicated. He also encroached on the deputy's personal space numerous times and had to be told multiple times to step back. A criminal history check revealed Sestuli had been arrested in 2001 in Indiana on a charge of battery. Sestuli was arrested on a felony charge of battery on a person over the age of 65. He was booked at Sumter County Detention Center and released on a $500 bond. A woman was jailed after allegedly attacking a man over chairs at a town square in the Villages. Wendy Rose Marie Messinger, 56, of Ocklawaha, was attempting to flee Spanish Springs Town Square at about 8:30 p.m. Wednesday when she was apprehended by a Lady Lake police officer. She was uncooperative, and the officer had to grab her by both arms, according to the arrest report. She was unsteady on her feet and had slurred speech. Messinger had been pointed out by a man who said she punched him in the face. After a verbal altercation occurred on the square involving taking someone's chairs and placing them in the middle of a walkway. The man, who is over 65, said he wanted to see Messinger prosecuted. There were multiple witnesses, the report indicated. The Michigan native was arrested on a felony charge of battery of a person over the age of 65 and a misdemeanor charge of disorderly intoxication. He was booked at the Lake County Jail and released after posting a $2,500 bond. A speeding teen from Guatemala was arrested after he was caught behind the wheel without a license. Kevin Raul Garcia Soria, 19, was driving a gray Toyota four-door passenger at about 4:30 p.m. Thursday in an area of County Road 462 and County Road 229 when he was captured on radar traveling 55 miles an hour in a 35-mile-an-hour zone, according to the arrest report of Sumter County Sheriff's Office. During the traffic stop, Osoria provided a deputy with a Guatemalan identification card. He admitted he does not have a driver's license. A computer check revealed he does not possess a Florida driver's license or a driver's license in any other state in the United States. He was arrested on charge of driving without a license. He was booked at Sumter County Detention Center on a $150 bond. Well, that was a Christmas gift. A man was arrested after allegedly exposing himself to a woman at Walmart. Aaron Kyle Campbell, 30, of Lady Lake, was arrested Thursday morning on a charge of exposure of sexual organs at Walmart in Summerfield, according to an arrest report from the Marion County Sheriff's Office. A woman said that about 9 a.m. she was in the general merchandise sections of the store when Campbell walked by with his erect penis out in zipper pants. I'm just, These people are so drugged up and so burnt up. They are just downright stupid. Let me read that again. Gamble walked by with his erect penis out of the zipper of his pants. The woman immediately notified a vendor who was working at the Walmart. The female vendor also saw the camel was exposing himself. When a deputy made contact with Campbell, who stands 6 feet tall, weighs 200 pounds, his pants were still halfway unzipped. Campbell claimed he had visited the restroom, and when he left, he did not realize his pants were unzipped. Stupid. How dumb can you be? He was taken into custody and booked at the Marion County Jail on a $1,000 bond. A new crosswalk will be constructed at Old Camp Road in Lake Sumter Landing. Work will begin Monday, April 17th. Construction is expected to take approximately 2 to 3 weeks. During this time, Old Camp Road will be closed to through traffic and a detour route will be put in place. A picture is above. You can freeze it and look at it if you wish. An official in the villages is among those with a mysterious spike in water usage. Rocky Hyder, village of Della Vista South, described his unexplained surge in usage at Friday's meeting at the Community Development District 1 Board of Supervisors. Hyder, who also chairs the CDD1 board, said his water usage went up by 1,000 gallons last month at a time when he and his wife was away taking care of her mother. Hyder concurs with residents who have reported mysterious spikes in water usage at their home in the villages. Well, there you go. They'll get this figured out. There were 43 golf cart crashes in the first quarter of 2023 in Sumter County portion of the villages. Captain Robert Seymour, Under Sheriff Pat Breeden spoke Friday morning before the Community Development District 1 Board of Community Development District 2 Board of Supervisors at Savannah Center. There were 358 car crashes in the first quarter of the year in the village's portion of Sumter County. In addition, there were 22 golf cart citations issued in the same period and 558 vehicle citations. Seymour said there are 1,000 traffic stops per quarter in the villages, but not all of them result in tickets. Those numbers do not reflect crashes and tickets in the Lady Lake, Marion County, Fruitland Park, and Wildwood sections of the villages. Be careful. One of the biggest speeding problems that I see in the villages, my own personal opinion is, other than the main roads, Morris Boulevard, Buena Vista, people are always speeding on them things. Not all people, but a lot. Is in the neighborhoods. Another group of officials has voted to stop accepting anonymous complaints when it comes to deed compliances in the villages. The Community Development District 2 Board of Supervisors on Friday voted 5-0 to no longer accept anonymous complaints. Let me stop there. This is a big mistake. Those are two of the oldest neighborhoods, District 1 and District 2. And it's like a cancer. As the neighborhoods get older, these problems keep moving to the other areas. Next will be District 3. Then it'll be District 4. I don't want that to come here while I'm alive. The Community District 2 Board of Supervisors on Friday voted 5-0 to no longer accept anonymous complaints. The board heard from several residents in a public hearing before taking the vote. We have no idea where the complaints are coming from. We have a right to face our accusers. You only have certain rights when you're arrested or when you're in court. You don't have a right to face an accuser. We have no idea where the complaint's coming from. We have the right to face our computer, said Marie Davis in the village of Santo Domingo. If you have a problem, you should be able to walk up to your neighbor and talk to them about it. No, you can't. It's just human nature. It's going to create an argument. People are going to have the police called on him because he argued with me because I was complaining about his bushes, and next thing I know, he threw a shovel at me. That's what's going to happen. Many of the complaints being lodged are petty in nature. Well, I know that you probably think they're petty in nature, but that's not really the question, is it? The question is it violate deed compliance? What does your deed restrictions say? This is always the problem. People say, well, I don't think that's a big deal. It ain't, or rather you think it's a big deal, or rather I think it's a big deal. Is it a legit complaint against your deed compliance? That's it. David says those making complaints should have to give their village ID number. I don't agree with that either. Donna Connor, also of the village of San Domingo in 2021, was in a bitter deed compliance battle over her Florida-friendly landscaping. Here's the problem with Florida-friendly landscaping that I see. People take advantage of it. I understand what the Florida-friendly landscaping is all about, conserving water. It doesn't mean you can't trim them, keep them neat and orderly. You just don't let them grow like a jungle. And that's what people do. Ron Baxa, a resident of the village of Santo Domingo, was not in favor of abandoning the anonymous complaint system, which is aimed at preserving harmony in the neighborhoods. 100% agree. Will this make a community prettier? Will people be intimidated? That is where the anonymous complaint is helpful. Well, time will tell. But I'll tell you, I don't see anything good coming from doing away with it. Here's my theory. The anonymous complaints are so easily done, and most of them are legit. And then people argue and complain, get a lawyer, all this kind of stuff. My rights are being violated. You've heard all this political crap. And I think what it really boils down to is each district supervisors and the people that work there are overwhelmed with checking out these complaints. They have to legitimize them, take pictures to see if it's a legit complaint. And then if it is, then the complaint goes to the next step. They are so overwhelmed with all this, they just don't have enough people on staff to do it. And they are getting so far behind that this is their easy way to loosen up their days, to have more time for other problems, other things that they think are more important. So let's do away with anonymous complaints. We don't have to worry about that stuff anymore. That's what it's about. An 83-year-old villager has been ordered to appear in court next month in a villa parking dispute. Rita Jane Hoover, who lives in the Greenwood Villas in the village of Calumet Grove, is due in Marion County Court on May 17th for a pre-trial conference on a charge of criminal mischief. The Ohio native lives at the end of Broughton Place and has a small area intended for overflow parking next to her home. Overflow parking is like you got a guest coming in and your driveway. In the villas, the driveways are generally small, and so they need to park. You keep them off the street because in the villa area, street parking is like impossible to do. But they do it. They shouldn't, but they do. And so the overflow area is so your guests will have a place to park. But here's what a lot of people do, and I got no problem with this. They'll say, okay, I'm going to take my car down there and park it down there. That way, when our son gets here with his car, he can park in our driveway to be more convenient for him. That's okay with me. It's still one car. Whether his son parks his car down there or whether you park your car down there so the son can park in the driveway, it's still the same one car. Another resident in the Greenwood Villas had family coming to visit and on March 7th parked her car with a Florida license plate in the overflow parking area next to Hoover's Courtyard Villa. The woman wanted to free up her driveway of her villa for her family members who were coming to visit out of state. I got no problem with that. The woman went back to the overflow parking area the next day and was horrified to discover that feces had been smeared all over her vehicle. Oh my God. She called law enforcement and turned over the photos of feces which had been smeared on the window, door handles, and front windshield of her vehicle. A neighbor's security camera captured footage of Hoover carrying a grocery bag, which appeared to be weighted. According to the arrest report, she could be seen as smearing something on the vehicle. The villager with the surveillance video recognized the woman captured on the video as Hoover, who was his neighbor. He said Hoover had several issues with most of the neighbors in the past. When the deputy questioned Hoover, she said she had been walking her dog and is allowed to freely walk where she wants to because that overflow area belongs to her. I think some of these people's got a little bit of a mental issue. Seriously. Hoover complained of past parking grievances and claimed that the sheriff's office has done nothing. Deputy noted in the report that Hoover was very, very standoffish. She remains free on her own recognizance. A snowbird accused of molesting a child has been ordered to stay away from minors while he is free on bond. Michael Robert Turney, 71, of the village of Ashland, remains free on $15,000 bond after his arrest last month at his home on Bernard Lane by Sumter County Sheriff's deputies on a Hillsborough County warrant charging him with lewd and lascivious molestation of a victim 18 years of age or younger. He was transported April 6th to the Hillsborough County Jail and released 2 days later. Judge J. Catherine Catlin ordered that as a stipulation of his release of bond, Turney may not have contact with the victim or any minor. Well, why would he not agree to that? I mean, that's the law, right? A new transformer to support the rapid growth of the villages made a long, slow journey Sunday down Megason Road. The new Duke Energy transformer, which is very large and very heavy, was transported from the Wildwood Operations Center at 4306 East County Road 462 to the Southern Oaks substation at 6345 Albatross Avenue. Wildwood police officers blocked off sections of Megason Road during the long, arduous journey. Community watch personnel were also lending a hand, keeping all traffic, pedestrians, and onlookers a safe distance away. We keep growing, people. We just keep growing. It never slows down. It just doesn't slow down. Marsh Bend Trail between County Road 500 and County Road 470 will be closed for reconstruction for 4 weeks beginning April 23rd. In addition, the older section of C470 will be temporarily closed from County Road 500 to Marsh Bend Trail, with the section of 470 from Marsh Bend Trail to Bexley Trail to be permanently removed. There is a new roundabout where C470 connects to Central Parkway, Old County Road 470, just west of Northeast 54th Terrace, in which drivers will take Central Parkway to the south of 470, where it will connect to a new roundabout at Marsh Bend Trail. Central Parkway then curves north over the removed section of Central Parkway, where it connects with another roundabout at Bexley Trail. Drivers will divert to Bexley Trail to return to Central Parkway. Did you all understand that? Jesus. That just sounds confusing. I'll put a picture up here. You guys can freeze it and look at it if you want to, for as long as you want to. You figure it out. Community Development District supervisors are having mixed reactions to the idea of hiring a special hearing officer for public hearings in deed compliance cases. I kind of think maybe that's a good idea. I hate to say we're going to spend more money, but this deed compliance is getting out of whack. Our deed counselors here and things don't seem to know what to do or how to do or get anything done. So maybe we need to reach on the outside. This past week, the Village Center Community Development District Board of Supervisors officially took action to turn its deed compliance public hearings over to a special hearing officer. The VCCDD board will be relying on retired Lake County Judge Terry Neal to act as the special hearing officer. She originally came aboard in 2021 with Community Development District 12 Board. All reports suggest that her years as a judge have been a real asset, and she is doing an exemplary job in the role. Her hourly rate is $125, and the estimated fiscal impact for each CDD is expected to be only a few $100s. I've not seen anything down here that only costs us a few $100s. Deputy District Manager Carrie Duckett acknowledged that it can be quite uncomfortable for a CDD supervisor who are residents elected by fellow residents to sit in judgment of fellow residents who can be friends and neighbors. Well, I only got one thing to say about that. I understand that. That statement's 100% true. I got no argument with the statement at all. Then if you know this, why are you running for an office? That just seems hypocritical to me. You run for an office, and now you're saying I want to change things because I'm uncomfortable with it. The son of a couple in the Villages has been jailed after an alleged attack on his lady friend. David Robert Morgan, 61, who lives with his parents in the village of Santo Domingo, was taken into custody this last week after meeting with law enforcement officers at Publix at La Plaza Grande. A woman had reported to Lady Lake police that Morgan had been at her home and pushed her, causing her to fall. She suffered a bruise on her right arm. She told police, "This happened to me before." She said she wanted it to stop. During the interview with police, Morgan admitted they had argued and he had been drinking. He said he knew he shouldn't have been drinking because he is on probation. Well, you just admitted to that. The Illinois native was arrested in 2021 after unexpectedly showing up at the home of his estranged girlfriend on the historic side of the Villages and punched her 4 times near her right eye with his fist. He threw her to the ground and attempted to choke her, according to the affidavit of probable cause by Lady Lake Police Department. In February 2020, Morgan was arrested after a woman told law enforcement that he called her a bitch as he punched her and held her down on a bed by her throat. In 2019, Morgan had been employed as a server at Red Lobster in the Villages, but quit his job and left with $179.85 that belonged to the restaurant, according to the arrest report. When interviewed by the deputy at his home, Morgan turned over the money. Morgan said he quit his job because the manager was being disrespectful to him. After his arrest last week on a charge of battery, he is being held on a $2,000 bond at the Lake County Jail. Well, I can just about tell you that part of his penalty It's probably going to be anger management. Don't you think? A Pennsylvania snowbird was injured after his Mercedes crashed in a roundabout in the Villages. Thomas Allen Richards, 73, the village of Monarch Grove, was at the wheel of a gray 2020 Mercedes GLC 300 utility vehicle at 3:16 p.m. Sunday when he crashed in the roundabout at Marsh Bend Trail and Corbin Trail near the entrance of the village of McClure. Richards, who was identified by his Pennsylvania driver's license, was conscious but not alert. He suffered minor superficial scrapes on his leg, arms, and head. He had been heading south on Marsh Bend Trail and was exceeding the speed limit. He was unable to navigate the roundabout and ran up into it, striking vegetation and a one-way sign and shearing it from the post. His Mercedes went on to strike a tree in the roundabout. Ambulance from the village's public safety department transported Richards to UF Health Leesburg Hospital for treatment of injuries suffered in the crash. The Mercedes was towed from the scene by Kling Towing. Richard purchased his home at 1682 Tharakinnis Path in 2021 for $769,000. He receives the tax bill in Harrisburg, PA. A proposal for a Walmart neighborhood market at County Road 466 and Cherry Lake Road was pitched Monday night to the Lady Lake Commission. A grocery store with an occupying gas station has been envisioned on 20.55 acres at the corner of the massive Hammock Oaks project being developed by Coulter Group. In a special conceptual presentation Monday evening before the commission, it was revealed that the planned commercial development at the highly desirable corner across from Spring Arbor Village, that's a family-friendly park in the Villages, will also include 2 restaurants and a bank. One of the restaurants would be a sit-down restaurant, while the other would be a fast food restaurant. Commissioner Ruth Cussard asked for assurance that the Walmart will be a grocery store format and not a full-blown supercenter. She received the promise it would be a Walmart neighborhood market like the one at Sarasota Plaza on County Road 466A in the Villages. Well, they got to build somewhere, seeing as how they're closing down a whole bunch of stores. Four in Portland, Oregon, 4 in Chicago, and more to come. A Village of Richmond resident got her first hole-in-one at the Sarasota Executive Golf Course, continuing her father's legacy of 8 holes-in-one. Corrine Zanuk moved to the Villages this past October with her husband, Stash, their dog Annie, and their cat, Callie. Not only was she new to town, but she was new to golf. Lessons taken at the Sarasota Golf Academy with female pro Maria Brooks paid off on hole number 5 earlier this month when she scored her first ever hole-in-one. Well, I think that's going to be the news for this week. Keep watching, keep subscribing, and we'll see you next week on next week's news.
Jump in, okay,